and spell your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Dr. Kelly Larkin, Kelly-Larkin.
And could you please give the jury a little background as to your education as well as your employment experience?
Yes, I'm a board-certified emergency physician. I've been practicing for 30 years. I have a bachelor's degree in science. I have a master's degree in neuroscience. I have a medical doctorate. And following completing medical school, I did an emergency medicine residency training for 3 years. Following that, I was invited to take the board examination to become board certified. I took the written boards. Once I passed that, the next year I was invited to take the oral boards. Once I passed that, I was a board certified emergency doctor. Since that time, every 10 years I have to recertify. So I've recertified twice now. And so I'm still currently a board certified emergency physician. And for the past 30 years, I've worked exclusively in emergency departments, mainly in Houston, Texas area.
And have you had any publications as it pertains to articles and or any type of treatise?
I've had some publications from like graduate school and some small publications.
And have you had an occasion to also teach?
Yes, I've been a associate professor at University of Texas, so I've taught medical students, residents, paramedics, different emergency providers over the years.
Have you had the occasion to testify before and been certified as an expert in emergency medicine?
Yes, I have.
At this time, I would tender Dr. Larkin in the area of emergency medicine.
Any questions?
No question.
Okay. All right, again, ladies and gentlemen, this doctor will be allowed to give an expert opinion in emergency medicine, her field, and you can place such weight as you choose to upon it.
And at this time, I would tender to the court Dr. Larkin's curriculum vitae.
Okay, 63.
Dr. Larkin, in preparation for your testimony today, did you review any of the materials that were involved in this case?
Yes, I did. I reviewed the medical records, the EMS records, the 911 call, some of the toxicology reports, some of the transcripts from some of the testimony this week. At least that much. Probably some other things too.
I want to go right to it and take you to, Josh. I want to go right to the 911 call on February the 25th, 2023. Do you remember reading the information in regards to that particular call made by Blaise Taylor?
Yes, I do.
And did you have the opportunity to also read the EMS and the fire department's records as it relates to that 911 call?
Yes, I did.
And, well, before I do that, let me ask you, have you had the opportunity over the course of your career to treat overdoses?
Yes, I have.
Over the 30 years that you have practiced emergency medicine, how many overdose cases would you say that you have treated?
Many. It's pretty common. So there's different types of overdoses, accidental and intentional, but probably 400 or 500 over 30 years.
Have you also had the occasion to treat patients who ultimately pass away and expire?
Yes, I think unfortunately all emergency physicians do, and probably 10 or so deaths in the emergency department per year, maybe some early on years in the trauma center more than significantly more than that.
Okay. And in regards to those overdoses, those 400 to 500 overdoses that you've treated and experienced over the last 30 years, did any of them have to do with illicit as well as prescription substances.
Yes.
Now I want to draw your attention to the 911 call on February 25th, 2023, made by Blaise Taylor. Can you tell the jury, did you read some of the symptoms that were explained by Blaise Taylor in regards to what he felt he was witnessing at the time?
Yes, so I read it. I also did listen to the 911 call as well. And I did listen to the symptoms he was describing.
Did you listen to any other person's description of Ms. Benning's symptoms as the medical episode was happening?
Her friend Nigeria had a around 6-minute phone call prior to the EMS arriving and kind of overlapping into that, prior to the 911 phone call. So there was a little description as well in her testimony this week.
And what symptoms, if any, stood out to you?
So if we start with her friend Nigeria, the phone call started, and the way it sounds over those 6 minutes, towards the end of the call, she was not really able to understand what Jade was saying, whereas in the beginning of the phone call, she could understand what Jade was saying.
And what about any of the symptoms that were described by Mr. Taylor?
Yes, so Mr. Taylor described to the 911 operator a couple different times. Initially, he said that she had spit coming out of her mouth and that she was shaking. And then as the 911 operator was asking more questions about her status, he said that it sounds like she's snoring.
Was that a significant symptom to you?
It's a very significant symptom. We worry a lot. So snoring in a normal patient, this is not normal sleeping, is really a medical emergency. It means that they're relaxing the muscles in the back of their throat, impending respiratory arrest, not able to continue to breathe normally. And what's interesting is, I work in an emergency department where we have a lot of cancer patients, and so we give a lot of fentanyl in particular and a lot of opioids, and we really watch when we're giving those doses to make sure, and if the patient starts snoring or we see that that's too much, we realize, they have to be reversed. So it's something we're very familiar with and very concerning.
And if you would look on your screen, do you notice there that you'll see on line 48, do you see what it states there?
Yes, on line 48, that's where Mr. Taylor mentions it sounds like she's snoring.
And would that be the symptom that you thought was very alarming as you just described?
Yes, it is.
What, if anything, does that tell you? Well, before I ask you that, were there any other symptoms that you felt like were important?
I think those are the most important. We knew that she was breathing during this time period. That's mentioned several times by Mr. Taylor as the EMS operator was speaking to him, but those symptoms are very concerning.
And why do you feel like they're concerning?
Because, as I mentioned, when someone gets to that state where they're not breathing normally, or they have sonorous respirations, that means that they're not getting oxygen delivered around their body, to their brain, to their heart. They're not getting rid of the carbon dioxide that's bad for our body. And so when those things start piling up, then that's when you can have a heart attack. That's when you can have a cardiac arrest. Because if you stop breathing first, it's just a matter of time until then your heart's going to stop because it doesn't have enough oxygen.
And did you actually see, as you just described, that in this medical incident with Ms. Benning?
Yes.
Did you have the opportunity in preparation for your testimony today to to not only listen to the 911 tape, but to look at the emergency records in this case. You could go back, Judge.
Yes, I did.
And what I mean by that is from EMS in the fire department. If you could blow up the pre-hospital care report, the second. Yes, thank you. Do you notice in this report narrative where it states that the patient's boyfriend stated the patient was 4 months pregnant?
Yes, I saw that.
Now, I want to also ask you, did you also review the Emergency Communications Center information?
Yes, I did.
And did you also review another CAD incident report from the emergency center?
Yes, I did.
Did you, in your preparation today for your testimony, see where there was any other or any place where Mr. Taylor described this incident as an overdose?
I did not.
Did you see that someone did describe it as an overdose?
Yes.
And who was that?
So initially, it says that Medic 35 was dispatched to the location for an overdose. So the way that works is typically the 911 operator would have sent information to dispatch the ambulance, and they would have told them that was what their initial dispatch was for an overdose.
Did you have an opportunity to listen to the 911 call that Mr. Taylor made in regards to this incident?
Yes, I did.
Did he ever describe this as an overdose?
He did not.
Did you have an opportunity over your course of the 30 years in the emergency room? It's fair to say you see many emergencies.
Yes, we do.
Where do you currently work?
I work at University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center Emergency Department in the Houston Medical Center.
And prior to that, where did you work?
I was at Baylor St. Luke's Medical Center for 20-some years prior to that.
And in all those years, were you practicing emergency medicine?
Yes.
So have you had the opportunity to come in contact with many families who had loved ones who were experiencing significant medical emergencies?
Yes, every day that I worked.
And sometimes those medical emergencies ending in death.
That's correct.
And can you tell this jury whether or not there's any one way that you've seen a person respond to a familial medical emergency with a loved one?
Absolutely not. Everyone behaves differently in these emergency situations. I think it's common. Everybody behaves differently in just any emergency situation. So now if you're in an emergency department and a loved one is sick or something is going on, some people are calm and you can tell they're upset. Some people are a little more excited. Everybody responds differently. I could never describe that one way to do it. There's no right way to deal with that. I can't imagine being in a situation on the other side of it.
So I now want to draw your attention to when a patient arrives at the emergency center. Okay. Are there situations when a patient would have to be intubated when they get to the emergency center?
Yes, that can happen.
Have you had the opportunity to see whether or not Ms. Benning was ever intubated?
Yes, I did.
And did you find whether or not, did you determine when she was first intubated?
So intubation is actually a process where a tube is put down into the trachea to breathe for them. But in Ms. Benning's case, the EMS put a temporary airway in right away in the ambulance, which is a very common thing to do. And so a tube is put down, and it works well to breathe for a patient for a temporary measure. what happens then, we get them in the emergency department, and now we need a little bit more permanent measure that's for sure a secured airway, and that's what's called intubation. That's when you see it on TV, they go in with the scope, they look in, and then put the tube down, and that tube stays in there, and that's breathing for them. So that actual intubation followed the temporary airway, but that intubation happened at Vanderbilt in the emergency department.
Okay. And was there any medication that was given to Ms. Benning to assist with intubating her?
Well, yes, so one of the medications, she received succinylcholine in the emergency department.
Is that a common medication that is given to a patient when he or she is being intubated?
Yes.
What is the purpose?
It's a paralytic, so typically you want to give a sedative and a paralytic for a patient to intubate them. That's basically the definition of how you intubate someone.
Did you have an opportunity to review all the medical records? Well, let me ask you, do you see anywhere here on these medical records in front of you, we'll start with page 55, where you see the paralyzing agent succinylcholine given to Ms. Benning?
Yes, I see that in the ED notes.
Okay. And I should ask, is this in fact?
I object to this stating the medical records testimony that was not given because Ms. Benning was dead on arrival.
And that's the
Page
reason.
101.
That's the reason we're going into the records, Your Honor.
Okay, you can cross-examine as you see fit. So this is her opinion.
Do you see on page 55 right in front of you? Are these the medical records of Ms. Jade Benning?
Yes, these are the EPIC medical records from Vanderbilt.
And can you circle, if you can, the top right corner with your finger where it states these are Jade Benning's medical records? Can you circle, if you see where it says ED notes, and if you were to go down there,
Oops, sorry.
if you were to go down maybe 9 or 10 lines, do you see where it says paralyzing agent succinylcholine?
Yes, I do.
Could you circle that for the jury, please? And could you read that for the jury, please, that notation that's made?
Yes, so in the ED notes, it says paralyzing agent, succinylcholine, injection, 76 milligrams, and then it gives it was given on 2/26/23 at 00:52.
Would that be the late night, early morning of February 26th?
Yes, early morning.
And as an emergency room doctor, does this state to you that Ms. Benning was in fact given succinylcholine?
Yes, she was.
And based on your review of the records, was she given that in an effort to help intubate her?
Yes, it's in the other notes as part of the procedure to do the actual intubation.
And it is your representation that this was in fact in the emergency room?
Yes, it
The
was.
emergency department?
I'm sorry, yes, it was.
I want to now draw your attention to page 90. And if you could clear your screen, please, at the bottom.
How do you do that? Oh, clear. Okay.
On page 90, are these two Ms. Jade Benning's medical records?
Yes, these are her records.
Could you circle her name
You
at the
don't
top?
have to
please?
get her to circle, it's right there in the report.
Do you see where Ms. Benning was, or at least succinylcholine, in these records as well? Oh, I'm sorry, those are. Move to the next page, please. To page 90. So we can move forward. So let's now go to, was there a time when Ms. Benning, based on your review of the records, was getting fentanyl?
Yes, she received fentanyl.
And do you see when and where she was given fentanyl?
Yes.
If I could I get the Elmo, please? Thank you. Do you see the highlighted area there on page 562?
Yes, I
of
do.
medical records? Could you describe to the jury what it means here when it says fentanyl ADS override?
So that's when they actually just pulled out the fentanyl to administer.
Okay. And based on your review of the records, was she ever given fentanyl at this date and time?
She was not.
I now want to draw your attention to page 567 of Ms. Benning's medical records. Do you see the highlighted areas there?
Yes, I do.
And is this in reference to the medication fentanyl?
Yes, it is.
And was she given fentanyl at this time?
Yes, she was.
And what time do you see notated in the medical record of Ms. Benning as to when she was first given fentanyl?
So her initial infusion of fentanyl was 2/26/23 at 00:39.
So would
I'm
that-
sorry, 00:41. So
Okay.
the pull and the, I think that's not the time. Yes, 00:41, 00:45 I have where the infusion started. So there may be another page of this as well.
Okay. This is page 727.
That's correct.
Okay. You could go ahead and explain to the jury what this is saying.
So this tells you that the infusion starting, the time that's highlighted on the right is 00:45 for the actual infusion starting.
Okay. And when does it end here in this medical record?
So,
Can you
oh
see?
yes, I can see. I'm sorry, I should put my glasses on. But the end date on this infusion and at this rate was 2/27/2023 at 18:43 or 6:43 p.m.
And in your review of all of Ms. Benning's medical records, is that where you see she was initially given fentanyl at Vanderbilt Hospital?
That is when she initially got fentanyl. Yes.
I now want to go back to page 90 of the medical records. Do you see there in reference to the medication succinylcholine?
Yes, I do.
And what is this record representing?
So this is on the ED timeline. So this is basically step by step everything that goes on in the emergency department. And this shows you that at 00:15 that there was an order placed for succinylcholine.
And is this too in the emergency department?
Yes, it was.
I now want to draw your attention to page 562 of the medical record. What does this represent, Dr. Larkin?
So this is the succinylcholine, again, the pull. So that's taking out the succinylcholine out of the machine to be able to administer the succinylcholine. So that shows it was taken out.
Thank you. And based on your review of the medical record, I'm sorry, I will go to page 567. What does that represent?
So this is showing you that the succinylcholine injection of 76 milligrams was completed, and it tells you who had ordered it initially, and then it tells you the nurse that acknowledged that as well.
Okay. And does it state completed?
Yes, it does.
What does that mean?
That means that the order that had been made to give the succinylcholine actually was completed, so it was given to the patient, and that goes along with the other one we saw earlier that said when it was given.
And is that, again, in the emergency room?
Yes, it was.
Now, I want to now draw your attention back to, is it working? And you can go back, Josh, to the records of the litigation, of the toxicology reports. Did you have an opportunity to review the toxicology report from NMS 2312985?
Yes, I did.
And did you learn from the review of these records that this was in fact vomit on a comforter that Ms. Benning vomited during the evening as a result of her medical incident?
Yes, I understand that.
And did you consider that too to be a symptom in regards to her medical condition?
Yes, it's not uncommon as someone is having respiratory difficulty or other problem that they have some vomiting.
Did you notice, based on your review of any of these toxicology reports, have you had the opportunity over the 30 years of your practice to have to deal with toxicology?
Yes, so as an emergency physician, you get trained in toxicology. We obviously have patients that come in and we have to look at reports regarding toxicology.
And you're not claiming to be an expert in toxicology, are you?
I am not.
Okay. Did you notice in the records, lab reports of Ms. Benning from NMS, whether or not you noticed that coca-ethylene was present in her system?
Yes, coca-ethylene was present in that NMS sample that we're looking at.
Thank you. Have you ever had an occasion over the course of your career to treat a fentanyl overdose?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever had an occasion over the course of your career to treat a cocaine overdose?
Yes, I have.
And could you describe for the jury what you would expect to see after 30 years of working in the emergency room department? Have you had an occasion to deal with cocaine overdoses?
Yes, so they're almost opposites of each other. So cocaine is more of a stimulant, and then fentanyl is more a depressant. So cocaine overdose, typically when we see them in the emergency department, they've got fast heart rate, they're anxious, they're hot, they might be breathing normal or fast. They can be paranoid, they can be excited, but they're kind of the symptoms that go along with the cocaine. They come in maybe with chest pain because their heart's beating so fast or their blood pressure is so high. So it's all of those things like that are amped up on the system. So the difference with fentanyl is classically is there's more drowsiness, and I think I described that we see it sometimes in the hospital when we give a little bit too much fentanyl to try to treat someone's pain. We have to watch out for them getting too sleepy. But with fentanyl, again, the respirations tend to slow down. It's a little more gradual of a change versus like the cocaine. Like I said, they're hyped up and they've got things going on that are fast. Typically, in the fentanyl overdose, we see that they slow down their breathing. They end up having a respiratory arrest, and after that, again, if the oxygen doesn't get there to the heart and to the brain, then they can have a cardiac arrest. And that's typical progression.
And can you describe to the jury what a fentanyl overdose looks like?
Yes, so as I mentioned, the fentanyl is when they have typically the respiratory arrest. They might be awake and talking, but then all of a sudden they get a slurred speech, or they get quieter, or they start not feeling well and sleepy, and then their breathing starts slowing down. They could have snoring, as we talked about earlier, and then eventually the lack of oxygen can cause worsening things like a cardiac arrest or just a demise at that point from lack of oxygen to the brain and to the heart and the other organs.
And did you take a look at all the symptoms that were described of Ms. Benning in this particular case?
Yes, I did.
And were you able to opine as to, based on the symptoms that were described, what was more consistent with the episode that Ms. Benning was having?
In this case, it's definitely more consistent with fentanyl. And, unfortunately, we're seeing more and more of that over the past several years. It's just increased. And it's adulterated drugs. It's not necessary. People know that it's in something that they might be taking. And that's where we see these tragedies and these accidental ingestions of the fentanyl. So to that end, this is more of a fentanyl presentation where, like I said, in this case, she started talking to her friend Nigella. By the end, she really couldn't understand her, so maybe she was getting more not able to speak as well. And then, as Mr. Taylor describes, she's laying on the bed, she's not really responding much, she's snoring, she's got some foaming coming out of the mouth. All those things go along with fentanyl, not to say there couldn't have been something else. We know what we see a lot of is mixed things now, and unfortunately what we're seeing is a lot of cocaine that now has fentanyl in it, and that's been kind of the fourth wave of things that we're seeing. So we have to watch out for that. So to answer it, the fentanyl is more likely to be definitely part of this overdose.
As a medical professional in an emergency room, did you notice that Ms. Benning had fentanyl in her system prior to receiving it at Vanderbilt Hospital?
Yes, I did.
And are you able to opine that fentanyl had nothing to do, given all the medical records that you reviewed for Ms. Benning, to do with her medical episode?
Can you restate, please?
Can you opine that fentanyl had nothing to do with the medical episode suffered by Ms. Benning, based on the records that you've read?
No, so fentanyl, we know fentanyl was present, and it was present prior to her getting fentanyl in the hospital.
Your Honor, yes, check. All gets cross-examined, but that is not what is in the record.
Okay, she's just indicated it is from her perspective, so go ahead.
Now, finally, have you had the opportunity to review the autopsy report from Ms. Benning?
Yes, I have.
And in reviewing the autopsy report, was there anything specific in regards to Ms. Benning's heart that stood out to you?
Yes, and I believe the medical examiner mentioned it as well. There was a enlargement of the left ventricle of the heart, and also the myocytes of the heart. It just means the cells that are in the heart, and they were enlarged in that left ventricular area. And that can be caused by several things like long-standing high blood pressure and other things. But again, that can be consistent with just something chronic, meaning you can't make big cells in that part of your heart quickly. It didn't happen with this event. It's not acute. It had to happen over time. So one of the chronic things that can cause this over time is just cocaine use over time can cause those myocytes to be large and that ventricle to be enlarged.
Now, to be fair, are there other things that could cause this type of myocyte hypertrophy?
Yes, and other things that make the heart work harder, like I said, high blood pressure, other heart problems.
In reviewing the records of Ms. Benning, did you have the opportunity to review her OBGYN records as well?
I didn't focus very much on those, no.
Okay, thank you. And what do you notice here in regards to what is notated in Ms. Benning, to be fair? Is this the autopsy of Ms. Benning?
Yes, it is.
What did you notice here?
This is what I just referred to, basically sections of the ventricle. The ventricle is one of the top chambers of the heart, and per this note, or per the report, it says they revealed focal myocyte hypertrophy. Big fancy words, but it just means the cells in that area were bigger than normal. And again, that's a chronic finding, not an acute finding.
When you say chronic versus acute, does that just mean one episode can't cause this?
Correct. This wasn't caused from the episode that caused her demise. This was something that had to have been going on prior to this to cause this.
And could you then read from page 5 of 5 of Ms. Benning's autopsy report, the highlighted area?
Yes. So histologic exams, so just basically looking at the cells on a microscope. The histological examination of Ms. Benning's organs reveals focal myocyte hypertrophy, the same thing we just talked about, in the heart, but no myocarditis or infarction. So in a case like this, when we have a young person who dies, the MEs are looking to see, could it have been a heart attack caused from something such as cocaine? We see young people that have that. Or could it be a myocarditis, which is an infection of the heart that can cause this kind of thing? The ME did not find those, so she just noted those as negatives in her report.
And of the medical records that you reviewed of Ms. Benning, was there anything you seen in those records that would notate that she suffered from high blood pressure?
No.
Thank you. I pass the witness.
Thank you.
Questions from you?
Dr. Larkin, as you said, you are not a toxicologist, correct?
That is correct.
And neither are you a forensic pathologist, correct?
That's correct.
Dr. Aaron Carney is a forensic pathologist and expert in that field. Do you agree?
Yes.
Now, talk about some things you reviewed. How much of the testimony, have you been in the courtroom to listen? We have our backs turned to the audience, obviously, but have you been in the courtroom to actually listen to the witnesses?
No, I have not.
Okay. Have you reviewed any of the daily transcripts of the witnesses' testimony that began on Tuesday morning?
I have looked at some of the transcripts.
Okay. Have you looked at Dr. Olashoga's?
No, I have not.
Okay. He was the emergency room doctor who was the first doctor to see Miss Benning, correct?
Yes, I apologize. I did look at that. I forgot the name.
Okay. And Dr. Olashoga's testimony, which you read and considered, she arrived essentially dead, correct?
I mean, I don't believe she arrived dead. I mean, I don't think as an emergency doctor at that point we may make that same thought that he did. You know, when they arrive and they have no pulse and they're not breathing, yes, that's a correct statement. But when you go through what they did to revive them, then you can actually return someone back.
Yes. Brought back from the dead. That's what Vanderbilt and Dr. Olashoga did, correct?
So cardiac arrest, yes.
Yes.
Agreed.
And she was intubated without the need for any medication because she was feeling no pain. Is that not correct?
I don't think anyone can say that, but I know she received medications.
After she was intubated, correct?
I believe the succinylcholine was at the intubation time.
There's only one intubation, right?
There is only one.
Because when she was removed from the emergency department to the ICU unit, they don't take it out at the emergency room and then redo it later, correct? There's one intubation.
One intubation, and that happened in the emergency department. That's correct.
Correct. And without going through all these pages and things, would you agree the medical records that are in evidence speak for themselves about when medication was administered and when it wasn't?
Yes, they do.
Okay. And so, if the, butcher the pronunciation, you pronounce it.
Succinylcholine.
Succinylcholine was administered in the ICU because after she had been resuscitated, she was having seizures and body movements that would be consistent with proper medical procedure, correct?
Yes, you can use succinylcholine other times, absolutely.
Because it's a paralytic.
Yes, it is.
Was it given in the ICU or the ER?
I believe it was given both, from what he's saying.
Again, if the medical records, Dr. Olashoga's testimony,
Oops.
and would you agree that the records
Hang on there.
Got it.
that Ms. Benning was intubated on 2/25/2023 at 22:06 hours? Is that correct?
I would have to look to verify that, but if that's what you're seeing in the record,
Well, again, the records are what the records are, and testimony has been to that effect.
yes, sir. I just don't have it in front of me to confirm that.
So that's not a note that you would have made when reviewing Dr. Olashoga's testimony.
I didn't make any notes when I reviewed it, so I didn't make any timing on that.
Okay. Let me just ask about that. When did you do these reviews of obviously you could not have reviewed the testimony until it happened, so that would have been this week, correct?
That's correct.
So when did you do that? This week or over the weekend?
So probably towards maybe Friday, I may have looked at some of the transcripts, and then over the past day, I've also been reviewing.
Prior to the trial starting, counsel asked you about reviewing a number of things, including the 911 call, correct?
Yes, sir.
When did you review that?
Just recently, I listened to it, I know yesterday, and then I got the actual transcript of it.
Well, since recently could be a term subject to interpretation, when were you retained and or become involved in this case?
I believe 3 months ago, approximately.
Okay. Recently,
Yes,
if we're talking years,
yes.
as opposed to months. So, 3 months ago, what was the first thing you reviewed?
I'm guessing I probably would have gone to the medical records initially and then the EMS records.
Well, don't necessarily want you to guess, but the Vanderbilt medical records are voluminous, correct?
Yes, 1,331 pages.
And the autopsy report,
Yes,
you would have reviewed that. And the EMT documents, the runs, you read those, correct?
yes,
Okay. And would you not agree that part of the reason for this is so you can have the facts correct to be able to make an informed opinion?
that's correct.
All right. And so, if you provided us information that the EMS was a guy, that was wrong, correct?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Document that you provided to us.
Oh, so that EMS guy was the 911 call. That was just, those are notes. It's not a report.
Okay. But the EMS guy, so you're saying now that was the 911 person as opposed to the paramedic. Is that right?
Well, the paramedics, I believe, were both females, so I may have put that wrong, but again, those are just some very informal notes.
Well, again, but you're putting down on paper your memory of the facts, your knowledge of the facts, correct?
I can, yes.
Right. So if you say the EMS guy said he thought it was an allergic reaction and he didn't check a pulse until he got her into the ambulance, that would not be the person answering the 911 call, would it?
It may not have been.
Did you review the testimony of Najee Jackson?
I did look at some of that, yes.
Just some of it?
That's correct.
So you know that during that call that Ms. Jackson was a part of, Ms. Benning said, "I can't feel my legs," correct?
That's correct.
And said to Mr. Taylor, "What did you put in my drink? My drink tastes funny." Correct?
Yes.
And from that, we have some time go by before the 911 call. But do you recall there being any mention of that, those symptoms on the 911 call? My legs, I can't feel my legs.
No, I don't believe so.
With respect to Dr. Olashoga, do you have any criticism of how he handled Ms. Benning
No.
in the emergency department?
No.
He did everything you would have done, correct?
I believe so.
Including having tests run, such as they could be run from the emergency department. We're talking about to see what is in her system, correct?
Yes.
You do that.
Yes, I do.
Yes. And you get those results back as quickly as possible, correct?
We do.
It's not like weeks or months later that you're sitting or standing around the emergency department waiting for lab results to come back from a lab in Pennsylvania, correct?
That's correct.
And Dr. Olashoga needed to have those tests run and got Dr. Broccolari as far as this was something that needed to be investigated, correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
And there is no fentanyl put into Miss Benning's body by Vanderbilt Hospital until 2/26/23 at 0:45 a.m. Is that not correct?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Now you talk about people that come in that you've seen in the Houston emergency room or the day before that, was it Waco? Was it Baylor?
No, that's Baylor St. Luke's Medical Center in Houston.
Okay, in Houston. Those people are alive when they present, correct?
For some of them, yes.
Okay. Well, have you had someone present who is determined to be dead because of acute cocaine toxicity in your emergency room.
Oh, I'm sure I have, yeah.
And that is Dr. Aaron Carney's cause of death, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Dr. Larkin, based upon that and your testimony about what is typical of cocaine, typical of fentanyl, in the face of all that, you're saying, oh, it could be a fentanyl overdose, or it was a fentanyl overdose?
Well, we know there was fentanyl as well, and we know there was cocaethylene. I don't know that those were taken into consideration as far as the cause of death. I'm not saying there's not cocaine. What I'm saying is, by the presentation, what happened just prior, it appears that there was, we know there's fentanyl, but the fentanyl was accentuating or causing this respiratory arrest.
And that's your, could have been.
Yes, sir.
Because of that trace finding.
There's fentanyl was
Are
found.
you basing this on the comforter?
I'm basing it on the comforter, and that sample that was also testified to by Dr. Methune and Dr. Jade.
Just one or two more things about getting the facts right. You would agree that's important?
Yes, sir.
To base any opinion on. And one of the statements in this report say, on the day of her death, text messages indicate that Jade met with her drug dealer. That didn't happen, did it?
Again, that's not a report.
Forget that word, that statement.
Okay, those were just personal notes for me that I put down somewhere along the way, and I don't believe that there's any documentation that happened. I think we just know that she had text message contacting with the drug dealer that day,
So
back and forth.
Excuse me, I didn't interrupt, but you put that in your notes as something you were relying on.
Not
Right.
relying on something that I was going to be looking at, and obviously I would have corrected that if I had been given a time or asked to, do notes. I didn't do them until just recently when I was getting prepared for this. So if they're inaccurate, they're not complete.
So, any inaccuracy, even about fentanyl at the hospital, would make your opinion essentially not acceptable, correct?
No, those aren't my opinions. I've given my opinions in my testimony in court under oath today. And those were, like I said, notes that I was going to review to get prepared for the case today, which I've done. And nothing that I've said corroborates something that's not a truth.
So if there is no fentanyl in Miss Benning's system when she arrived at the hospital, then it wouldn't be a fentanyl overdose, would it?
We know there was some fentanyl there. It was never really tested for.
In her blood at the hospital, in her body at the hospital, regardless, there was no fentanyl detected, correct?
I believe that it was never tested for because there wasn't enough blood in the initial sample from 225 prior to getting fentanyl. I believe that Dr. Carney mentioned that.
But we'll see about that. Nothing else, John.
Any other questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Larkin, just a few questions for you. Wanted to draw your attention very quickly. When I asked you to take a look at page 55 of the medical records, Ms. Benning,
Yes.
what does that state to you?
It states that succinylcholine, paralyzing agent succinylcholine, was injected, 76 milligrams were given intravenously, 226/23 at 0052. And it's part of the ED notes, again, which is at the top, so that was in the emergency department.
When it says ED to hospital admission, what does that mean?
That's just on all the records, and they start in the ED and then it's on the top, just all the records have that.
And right below that, when it says ED notes, what does that stand for, if you know?
So part of EPIC has a section for ED notes, and that just basically shows notes that were generated during the visit. There's other areas of the record, but these are just basically the notes.
And just so the jury is clear, what is EPIC?
So EPIC is a enterprise system. It's a electronic health record. So it's one of the biggest in the country. Everything that goes on in the hospitals or the doctor's office or anything that's related are all on an EPIC record. It's actually about 40% of the market share in the United States right now. It's a big product, and it's people may be familiar with MyChart. So if you have a MyChart, that's part of EPIC, and that's how you can talk to your doctors and you can get your medicines and you have your appointments. So EPIC is just all that medical record, all being in one electronic location.
Okay. And then I will draw your attention to page 43 of the medical records. At the bottom there, where it says ED procedure note by the Dr. Olashuga. Do you see that?
I don't see that. I think you have to go
sorry.
further up.
There we go.
There we go.
I apologize. Okay. Do you see that?
Yes.
And do you notice what number 1 says?
Number 1 is intubation. That's the procedure we talked about earlier.
And does it say given or ordered?
Ordered.
Is there a difference between the two?
Yes, there's typically a note that says about the intubation that says attempted one time, what time that happened, and all that.
You say a date of service. What does that mean?
What is date of service? So date of service is the day that something happened, so you can have the date of service and also the time of service. So this date of service for this procedure note, which the procedure note is the intubation order, was at 2:25:23 at 10:06 p.m.
And so this says it was ordered at 10:06.
No, that's not what she said.
Well,
Yes, that says this procedure note says in the notes that at 10:06 p.m. this procedure was ordered, which was an intubation by Dr. Olashuga.
and so your testimony is this says ordered, right?
Yes, it does.
And this note says given.
Yes.
Okay, and what time is that?
So this is the succinylcholine that was given. Again, that was given 2:26:23 at 0052.
reason to give a paralyzing agent to someone who's dead?
You can intubate someone without a paralyzing agent, depending on their status, but you don't necessarily, you wouldn't necessarily need to do that if someone's dead.
Why would, as an emergency room doctor, why would you give toxicologist to a patient?
Well, because I guess we got to be careful how we use the word dead. When we say someone's in cardiac arrest, they have respiratory arrest or cardiac arrest, that means they're not breathing, their heart stopped. So essentially, I guess we call that dead. But we're resuscitating them. So fortunately, as an emergency physician, these patients that get to that situation, we bring them back. We resuscitate them. It's something we do. So they may have, and you hear people that say, oh, I died twice because I had 2 cardiac arrests, but they are not dead, brain dead. You're not going to stick them, in the morgue at that point. You're going to finish your resuscitation and determine if they truly are dead or they're not.
And I understand that, did you have an opportunity to review any of these toxicology report records?
Well, I did look at them.
And again, you're not a toxicologist, are you?
I am not.
And is this number 231-29285?
Yes, it is.
Have you learned that that is assigned to the comforter that the vomitus of Ms. Benning was located on when she was having her initial emergency episode in her apartment?
Yes,
That is before she went to Vanderbilt.
that's correct.
Have you learned through your review of all the records that there was fentanyl present and the vomitus on the comforter?
Yes,
And is this a record, based on your knowledge, if you know, that states that?
yes,
And to be clear, you're not stating Dr. Olushalo did anything wrong, are you?
no,
And although Ms. Benning passed away, as stated in this autopsy of acute cocaine toxicity, when it comes to the manner of death, that could not be determined.
Your Honor, I object to that.
that's correct.
She has asked that be stricken, not forensic pathology.
Yeah, this is a record that's in evidence.
Then there's no reason for this doctor to
Okay.
ask about it.
She's answered the question. Do you have any more few questions?
I do not. Thank
Okay.
you. I pass the
Any other
witness.
questions from the stage?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You can step
Thank you,
back.
sir.
Any further proof on behalf of Mr. Taylor?
May we approach briefly, Your Honor?
Okay.